Hey, what's going on? This is Kevon Turman, and I am coming to you live. We are going to have a great show today. I'm going to bring my co-host on. You know him as Damon Hopkins, but he goes by Dame Diggity. What's up, boy?
What's going on, man? Good evening. Thanks for having me on again, man. Looking forward to this great show that we have today.
Hey, listen, man, you stuck with me. That's how we do it. What's going on with you, man? Yo, what's crazy is we haven't talked all week.
No, we haven't. And the first week we was talking like at least like a couple times throughout that week, but that's all good, man.
Yeah, man.
Busy week.
Listen, we have a great show today. We have some great folks, man. We have two dynamic individuals, Venice Garner-Moore and Devron D. Dickens. I know you don't know them, but I do. And I see I have somewhat of a delay. I'm not sure what's going on with the system, but you
good, man. Just keep rolling.
You see the delay though?
I see the delay slightly.
Yeah. I may pop out and pop back in. So either way, we have a great show, and we are going to go ahead and do a quick hitter in terms of our. Let's see what we're going to do. We're going to do a quick commercial. How about that?
That's fine. Let's do it.
Can we do that? And we'll welcome Venice and Dev.
Define trauma.
What's up, Venice?
Hey.
How you doing?
Bro. How are you?
All right. How you been?
I'm doing well. I'm doing great. Thank you. Good to see your face after.
It's been a minute, right? Yeah. Getting old. Like the glasses.
Good evening, y'all. How are y'all doing this evening?
Good.
Venice, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Damon Hopkins. It's my first time meeting you both, you and Devron. Heard so many fantastic things about you guys, and look forward to all the things that you guys have to offer this evening. So again, welcome.
Listen, I'm going to pop out, folks, and try to reestablish my connection, but Dame is going to definitely get you guys started. We really want to start with, if you could just give your quick, just a few words about who you are. So we want to start with Venice.
Venice, can you hear us? Like she was paused. No problem. So we can't start with Venice. Let's go ahead and start with Devron. Devron, just tell us a little bit about yourself this evening, man.
All right. First of all, I just want to say thanks for having me. Devron Dickens, born and raised in East Baltimore. Okay. I think that's important to say, especially given this topic. I'm a social worker by trade, and I think I want the people to know that I've always had the idea that I just wanted to help people. Went to school for just because that was the thing that my parents said I probably should do. It was either that or get a job when I was coming up. Right. And went to school initially planning to go to school for engineering. Got a job working in a group home, and the experience that I had working with the young men in the group home pushed me into understanding that I had a different calling on my life. Talked to some people, changed my major, and I started working in that group home when I was about 21, 22. and I've been working in there another 20. So I worked in group homes, treatment, foster care. I've also started my own private practice where I do individual and family therapy. I would say that I got my master's undergraduate degree from Morgan State University School of Social Work, master's degree, University of Maryland School of Social Work, Baltimore. And I'm working on my PhD back at Morgan State in social work as well. So I finished all my coursework there and working on my dissertation.
So you up there AI, huh?
Yes, sir.
That's what's
yeah.
up.
So I've been
heard a little bit about y'all.
Yeah, we get around a little bit. Also, I have my own private practice, so that allows me some flexibility with the school schedule as well.
Dope. Again, man, thank you for coming on tonight. I'm not sure if we have Venice at the present time, but no problem. I'm glad everybody can hear. We're gonna keep this thing going until everybody jump back on. Big top. So this is your first time hearing me or knowing who I am. So if somebody else is coming on for the first time, not knowing who I am, again, my name is Damon Hopkins. I'm currently an entrepreneur. I have a business called Jump Bunch of Northern Delaware, which is a sports and fitness enrichment program or phys ed program for children from the ages of 15 months to 13 years of age or older. I also have a diverse background with being in the social service field. I've been a school social worker since 2004, and then graduated from there to becoming a consultation education specialist, school-based services. And now I'm in a situation as a crisis counselor with Delaware Guidance Services, and I've been with them for approximately 13 years, and normally working with the youth, from individuals from like 5 years old up to 17, and anyone that has issues with academic issues, threatening to hurt themselves, other individuals, substance abuse, just totally out of control for their family dynamic. We're actually utilized to come in, do some assessments, and trying to get an idea as to which way would be the best option for us to treat them or service them and their families. Tonight, it's a crazy topic. It's a great topic. It's something that we, as in our culture, and especially during this National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, that we want to be tackling trauma today. Last week, we did The Invisible Man with Why Dads Disappear, and sometimes some things work right into the next. So, but before further ado, we have Venice back on the line. So let's get some more information about you now that you're back in the mix.
Hello, happy Friday. I am Venice Garner-Moore. I am a licensed therapist and a certified spiritual life coach, and I am the owner of Embracing Your Difference LLC, which is a private practice and motivational firm in Connecticut. And I am a wife, mom, entrepreneur, an author, and basically Embracing Your Difference is the private practice that focuses on individual therapy, couples counseling, family counseling, in addition to fatherhood workshops, postpartum groups, and just motivating others to reach their full potential.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Hey, listen, this is one of the greatest parts about having a co-host, right? Because when you have technical difficulties, my man held it down. So I appreciate you, Dane.
No problem, man. I got you. That's why we're here.
I appreciate you, good brother. Hey, listen, we have a great show today. We're going to try to keep it within an hour, but give us some grace because we kind of wasted about 10 to 15 minutes. Is that cool?
That's cool.
All right, cool. So today we're going to have the following themes or topics, and welcome to you both. I really appreciate you all being here. It's all love. And Dame, if you didn't know, that's Frack.
Yeah, I was about to get into that. As soon as I said AI, he was like, yeah, we've been around a little bit. And I was just, I know he can see my pictures in the back or piece.
Yes, sir.
I know it ain't the platform. But what's up? Brother.
Oh, it's always the platform.
It's always the platform.
I mean, we got another red in here, but shout out to Delta Sigma Theta.
I'm good with that. All the way.
And listen, so trauma, resilience, mental health, comorbidities, adverse childhood experiences, fear, pain, the men and mental disparities. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to unpack, and I want to jump right in there. So this is the show about trauma. As Dame already said, we did this excellent episode. And honestly, bro, I think compared to our conversations, we just scratched the surface in terms of fatherhood, right? And so we have a lot to discuss, and we know that you guys are practitioners. You're out there on the front line, doing a lot of work with people, and you're experiencing a lot of the things that we want to talk about today. So really quickly, tell us a little bit more about yourself. So if we can start with Venice, we want to know more about your family structure. Were you the only child? Do you have any siblings? Were your parents married? Give us a little context just so we know who we're sitting with today.
So I'm born and raised in the Bronx. I am one of 7 children, and
Just
I
7,
have
huh?
5 brothers. I have 6 brothers and 1 sister. My parents were married. Yeah, my dad was a Rolling Stone, and I found out at the age of 12 that my biological dad was not who I thought he was. I found out that I had a different dad. So went through a lot. Extremely grateful, and yeah, I am who I am from the Bronx, and pretty much had to go through a lot of things, but grateful for every moment.
I like it. I like it. Wow. Lots to unpack there, but we don't have the time. Dev,
Hmm.
So, born and raised East Baltimore.
say Baltimore. Say 2.
2. You gonna get all that from me. Also, 2-parent household. Mom and dad always been married for 52 years now. Also, I have an older sister who is not my mom's biological daughter, but we have a close relationship and is getting closer even. Especially during this pandemic, we've reached out to each other much more during this time. Also, I had a sister who's deceased now. She died at the age of 15 when I was 10 years old, going on 11. She went on a school trip to Paris, France. Last time I seen my sister was in BWI Airport. And that's one of the reasons that I do this work is because I was that 10-year-old boy who, although my dad was in the household, my mom was there, I needed somebody to talk to. And, in our culture, like it was said earlier, we don't normally seek mental health services. We go to family support, we go to church, we, get involved in sports and things like that. But I needed somebody really to talk to, and I didn't do those things, even though I had a great family network, a great friend network, because I didn't know how to express the feelings that I was going through. I cope with those feelings in a maladaptive way. Since we're being real today, I smoked marijuana, drank, ran the streets, and I lived in Baltimore City. So I had a difficult time, and I wasn't addressing the trauma that I felt in my life. So through linking up with some other good people and talking those things through later in life, and still talking through those things, I'm able to help myself and use those skills to help other people, particularly young Black men.
Both of you, I want to appreciate. Man, listen, I want to say thank you. I love getting the show started. We just skipped the formalities, and I appreciate that. One of the things I wanted to do really quickly is I want you all to help us be able just to answer a very simple question, which is help us define trauma. But before you do that, I want you to think about it. I'm going to put you both in the green room and just pretend that we're on your couch at this point.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Hey, 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 listen, bro. Quick question for you.
Yes.
What was your most traumatic experience?
My most traumatic experience would be dealing with the loss of my daughter. My daughter would be 19 years old right now, and we lost her just shy of her 3rd birthday. We actually had to bury her. She passed a week before her birthday, and we actually buried her the weekend of her birthday. So that was the most traumatic experience that I've actually had to deal with. And I guess to go into what we're going to be talking about today, just a quick snapshot. I'm still dealing with it. It's not something that you get over. It's something that you learn to cope with. But I could have definitely, and my wife, we could have definitely benefited from going to see somebody and get counseling for that. You know, that was our first child. We were young parents. That baby, I would say she was definitely an angel. You know, never had an opportunity to commit a sin or anything else, but we were in this situation. We were all in for it. And she had some not mental health, but some medical conditions at such a young age. Like literally, just within 4 days after birth, you know, our life changed upside down as we knew it. And I felt like I was just robbed of a brand new toy. I couldn't wait to be a father, and now I'm here and I have her. It was devastating from that whole journey from the beginning. And they didn't even put a good lifespan on her. They wasn't expecting her to make 5 years. And early in the beginning of these stages, while we were still in college, you know, they were trying to think like, well, how you want to care for her? And I was like, listen, we gonna care for her like ain't anything wrong with her. You know,
Wow.
we gonna bring in everything that we can do to make sure that she has the quality of life and have a fighting chance. So going through that process, and it could have made or break our relationship. And thank God it made our relationship. And thank God for it without counseling, but being able to be spiritually ground or just where we at with it, that helped me out tremendously. But I have had some hiccups in my adulthood, you know, dealing with that. Just when you think you kind of like compartmentalize certain things, and then things just pop up on you, man.
Thanks for sharing, man. I really appreciate it. I'm sure you're gonna return the favor and ask me a question, but for now, for now, how do we define trauma? Anybody, let us know. What's the definition?
Well, but you about to go, Venice, so I can jump right in there for you.
So trauma to me is when I think about it, it's such a broad question. And truth be told, you know, I just recently put this in, you know, one of my memoirs is trauma is anything that you go through that is distressing or causes severe stress to you, your body, your mind, or something that could have happened, you know, to someone that you care about as well. Trauma could be a fire, it can be numerous evictions, it can be grieving a loved one, it can be, you know, going through a car accident, slavery, seeing someone abused, going through physical or sexual abuse. Trauma is so broad, and I think that we become immune to it due
So,
to, you know, our backgrounds, our culture, because we have this place within us that we always have to be so strong. So going through so much and becoming immune to the day to day because we're so strong, a lot of times, you know, we've grown up not even realizing that we've gone through a lot of different traumatic situations.
I was going to ask, is it possible that we could have experienced trauma, or do we experience trauma and not even know it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I agree with what Venice said. I think that it doesn't have to even be that big. I mean, just growing up in an urban environment can be traumatic. Like you see things on a day-to-day basis that is abnormal. You live in conditions where here in Baltimore City, you might can count on one hand the number of grocery stores or markets. You live in a food deserts. That's traumatic. Not to know, you know, not to be able to go get fresh food. And you're just eating chicken boxes and French fries all the time. That's traumatic. I mean, but we've grown so accustomed to that we've normalized that behavior. That a half and half in a chicken box is normal. But that's not normal. That's not how we should be living. Especially when we can see other people in other cultures living differently. Like we can go a couple blocks over and it's totally different. But those experiences that we live throughout on a day-to-day basis, and that it doesn't necessarily have to be so traumatic as you know, someone dying or murder or someone being molested or things like that. I think that our culture experiences trauma at a disproportionate rate than other cultures.
Thank you for your perspectives. So, Dane,
Yes.
You dropped something pretty heavy on us, man. And so quick question for you. Do you feel like you've leaned in and dealt with that traumatic experience?
I think I could have done more. So I cannot. I think I could have done more. I think that over a period of time, they say like time heals all wounds to a degree. In this situation, I just took a different. I dove right in to embrace what the situation was going to be. You know, just to pull you back. I don't want to make the whole show about me, but I will tell you what happened. I had a situation where my child developed meningitis just a couple of days after she was born. And once we realized that would happen, I never forget. I was up at school. I was practicing for a step show. Came over to help my girlfriend with now my wife with the baby, and I noticed in playing with her, she kept at times started holding her breath, and I had to pop her to keep her from stopping her doing that. And she kept doing. I was like, "Listen, Mish, this ain't right. Something ain't right."
Right.
She's like, "All right." So we took her over to the doctor, and he was like, "Rush her to the hospital immediately." As soon as we got over to the hospital, we was there for a short period of time, and life just changed as we knew it. But without us really even knowing it, our daughter had a stroke. So when she had a stroke, she like several different parts of her brain was impacted in a very negative way. And it was like, that's why I said it's like somebody just took something that I was so happy and joyful about, and I like just switched, and everything with that how we knew it was different. So from that point, from Indiana, Pennsylvania, you know, the next time I see my child, she's in the incubator going into a helicopter and being flown to Pittsburgh Hospital. And then once we get there, it was just like everything was different to the point that my baby is now has to be on a feeding tube. You know, eventually, you know, you can almost punch my daughter or slap her in the face and she wouldn't have felt the thing. You know, she, because of this stroke, you know, she became visually and hearing impaired. You know, she developed hydrocephalus, you know, some years later, like a year or so later on 9/11. I had to take her to that same year, 9/11, when everything was going crazy. I had to take her to the hospital, afraid that something might happen to our hospital. And they had to put a shunt in her head and drain out fluid from around her brain because she was getting a bulge and everything in her head. My wife is still up at school. So I'm actually at home, you know, single parent, but not a single parent. But, you know, being a father for the first time and going through all this and having the support that I had with my family, it was traumatic, yet a beautiful experience because I got the chance to witness life come into this world and be there and experience life leave this world at the same time throughout this whole entire experience. That was my silver lining. It was a line between tragedy, tragic trauma, and beauty at the same time, and have a different perspective about life. But that little girl inspired me in such a way because it brought so many people together. She brought families together. She made me believe in myself to where it wasn't nothing I can't do. If I can see this little girl sit here and go through the things that she's going through and she's fighting, the love that we poured into her helped her fight that much more. And it became like a ministry of ours that we were around the hospital praying and singing and everything for other kids that was there because other kids were suffering just because they didn't have somebody there with them. So it was a lot, man.
I appreciate you sharing, man. Something personal that I didn't know until today. So, folks, the first show that we did was entitled The Invisible Man, Why Dads Disappear. And our last segment will be called The Help. Dev, why don't you take a stab at letting us know what important factors are there to note as it relates to not having a father and trauma? Like, can you talk to us a little bit more about why that happens to be the impetus of trauma for so many Black males walking around?
I can. I think I also want to note that I think sometimes Black fathers get a bad rap. I think that there are a lot of Black men who, although they might not live in the home per se, Black children have access to. And I think it's important to approach the conversation noting that up front. I think we do ourselves a disservice when we don't talk to the Black men who are doing the right thing, like I'm sure you brothers are. I think it's our job to tell our story from our perspective I don't hang around any friends of mine. You're not a friend of mine if you don't take care of your family. If you're not in your child's life, we can't be friends no more, because I got to go make sure I got money on my son up at the school, making sure when Corona hits, he got somewhere he can come back to, making sure everything is straight. So if you aren't doing the same things, we don't have time to spend, to hang out, do other things. So I think that's important to note. I think that just parenthood in general, it's a hard job, and it's a job that never stops. I'm 43 years old, just turned 43, and I still, I just before this conversation started, my dad called me, and he'll call, periodically just to check in. I think that relationship between a father and a son, and a daughter and her dad is so important. And we can't, I get upset on Father's Day when mothers try to take credit for, you already had your day. This is our day. At least give me a tie and a dinner or something. The restaurants are wide open, but I think we need to acknowledge that there are good fathers out here and push that narrative more than anything now.
Okay, that's a great point. But
great point.
We also have to realize that there are a lot of fathers who are not there. So it's a big deal as well. But we definitely, I feel like if I could wear a T-shirt every day to promote how, hey, we do exist, I absolutely would. So that narrative will never go away. But there are some people suffering in terms of, this whole notion of trauma, and they're going through a lot of things that they just don't understand. And one of the things you said earlier that stuck out was giving it language, being able to articulate like how you feel and what happened to you. You all are familiar with comorbidities, right?
Yes.
And so I wanted to show something that I wanted us to just walk through really quick. And it's have you seen this before? It's like I want to say it's the ACE pyramid, and I'll remove that so we can all see it. But it's important. Like, what should we know about this pyramid? And I apologize, Vin, that we can't see you. But it's funny. We were talking before, and I would imagine, Dame, you were going to ask me what my,
Yeah, I was about to get there.
Yeah.
What is your? What was? I know you.
Oh, I wasn't giving you like the green light on it.
You might as well go for it. Before we dive too far deep into what we want to do unpack tonight. What was your most traumatic experience?
It was a combination of things, and I think and I'm freezing again, so I'll talk and get out the screen.
Okay. Can everyone else hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So he was basically talking about the ace diamond. Oh, he's back in.
Yeah, it's just going to be a delay in how I'm talking, but if you can hear me, I'll just keep talking.
Hear you just fine. Just go ahead, brother.
So yeah, it was me having been molested when I was a child, and it was traumatic, but I want to say the real trauma was everything that happened as a result. So, my dad not being able to deal with that, and my mom and dad arguing and getting a divorce, and just him not being there through that process, and what that process looked like, and not dealing with it until I became an adult. Like, I want to say that was the trauma.
Got you.
So it was a number of things. So it's interesting that you say it, because when we think about all the things we go through and not really being able to give it language and to express why we feel this way, or why we're hurting, or why we're angry sometimes, I think it typically is not just that one thing. It's something else.
Absolutely. Do you feel like how have you been able to deal with it or cope, or have you?
what I would say is that I absolutely continue to deal with all of that. I think you become an adult and like I've done a lot of my work, right? So I've gone to therapy and I've been able to, um, really just be honest with people in my life and just have certain conversations with my therapist. Um, and yeah, it's not something that will ever go away because it happened.
Right.
But anything that has anything to do with it, like it for sure, I've absolutely continued to lean in. And I think it also makes me a better dad. I'm like kind of overprotective in some ways. But for the most part, I'm aware of what people who what do you call it? They like when they massage, when they train young people, and when it's a lot of stuff that predators, things of that nature. Like I'm just super aware of that, so that's been important for me.
Like preying on young people.
Yes,
right.
Yes. Yeah, they call it something. I totally forgot. I'm not familiar with the terminology.
I saw Oprah mention. I seen an article that she did, or a clip of what she was saying. Like she kind of got graphic about it, but certain things that appear to be pleasurable or gratifying that a person might not even realize that they're being molested or being victimized or sexually abused in a certain way because it might feel good to them. But that's a whole different thing. But a lot of times things happen and people experiment. But when you have somebody of that age or so much older than you doing certain things to you, it's a big problem. And honestly, you have kids out here that are actually doing things to other children, their peers or even younger, and everybody know good touch, bad touch. But a lot of times,
grooming is the word. Yeah.
Okay, grooming. No, good touch and bad touch, but it's like they still don't get it. And they don't know until later because they're afraid to tell somebody because they might think it's somewhat of a norm because everybody goes through that experimental stage in their life and just don't know. But I want to applaud you for getting the therapy and what have you. But just real quick, by a quick show of hands, how out of the four of us, how many of us have actually gone through therapy before? Real quick. So it's just the two of you. So that's awesome. So could you guys just real quick address the stigma that we have in our culture or the reason as to why a lot of our people refuse to get counseling or won't get counseling?
I'm sorry, everyone. I was breaking up a bit. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, Venice.
So your question was how many of us have gone through and then it broke up?
Yes. How many of us have actually went through some type of therapy or counseling? Oh. Okay. So everybody on here but me. Cool. So
absolutely.
So that's cool.
Especially to be
maybe I got in a different way. Okay. So the question I had asked or presented to everyone is, what's the big stigma or the reason that a lot of people in our culture refuse or just don't feel comfortable about getting therapy or reaching out? Because there's so many of us that don't do it. And I could be answering my own question. Who knows?
I think the biggest thing is mistrust.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people.
Systems have failed us as African Americans, and why go to another system that's going to tell me what's wrong with me?
Right.
And most of us aren't privileged enough to have the space to, even if something is wrong with me, be able to address it, because we have to work, we have to do something. Like it's all these competing priorities that we have that come before taking care of myself, self-care. And that's normally our thing. Like, I gotta work, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I don't have time to go figure out, what's wrong with me or to take care of me. And it's really a privilege to be able to even take the time out to deal with myself and my issues. But I think the biggest thing is just the trust factor. Most of us don't trust, practitioners. Also, I think another issue would be the lack of African American practitioners. I think that's a big barrier to more of us seeking those services.
Got you. Venice, you have anything to add to that? Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen the same actually in my experience. And then also, I think because we as a culture have been taught not to talk, to keep family business in-house.
Absolutely.
And most of the time, those people who told us that it was not okay to express yourself or it was not okay to talk were the people that we trusted most. It came we trusted. And, you know, back when, at the end of the day, a lot of times, you know, when they did say, you know, we don't talk about our, you know, our family, or we don't talk about things that we've gone through, it became learned behavior. And unfortunately, as unhealthy as
That's a big thing that she bring up, and
She was
like I
on
say, yeah, she was on it because out of just me doing some research or surveying and having different conversations with different people of all ages, that essentially can play into a lot of generational curses within a lot of families, especially particularly not only just on them but also within our women. You know, you have a lot of our women that may have been raped or abused or something may have happened to them, and they just move a little different when it comes to their own children, or they can be a lot critical to someone else or to the youth where they just had a hard time dealing with things themselves. And then it puts a lot of tension on a relationship that you can have with someone when you're doing it from a place of love. But when someone is coming down on you, you know, that can make somebody become extremely insecure. Like they can never do anything right. And a lot of times it's like a system perpetuating within ourselves that causes those insecurities, that causes that self-hate, that causes, you know, people not just to trust other individuals, especially if you're supposed to be someone that I look up to, someone that I love, someone that I'm supposed to entrust into, and you just not getting that support that you feel that you need. And then in this day and age, you got people taking to social media, airing all their business out there when they really should be talking to someone privately to address those issues, so you don't have everybody in your business. And in that capacity, there's nothing wrong with talking and sharing stuff with people, but there's a time and place for everything. Would you guys agree?
I agree. I agree. And talking to people who are trained to deal with those types of issues, I think it's
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. You had got cut off a little bit there, Venice. Was anything you was trying to finish saying?
Yeah, I think I got cut off. I'm sorry about that. I wasn't
It's
sure
all right.
what you heard, but I was just saying, you know, a lot of times when it comes to mental health services and therapy, our to tell us not to talk about what we've gone through. And
Right.
because we are so strong, we don't talk about our stuff. So it became, you know, a learned behavior within our culture. And even, you know, for me growing up, I was taught that until I
Right.
became old enough to understand how unhealthy it was. You know, over time, the longer you hold things in, you know, the more uncomfortable you even feel walking around in your body. You know,
Right.
even for example, like when it comes to different trauma or even sexual abuse, the people who, you know, taught us about just right or wrong are our parents. And
Right.
when it comes to like, you know, your child being harmed, when you're explaining certain things to your children, there's a sense of no one better not ever touch you or no one better not ever harm you. And just talking to your children is the way that you should probably, I would offer to look into the way that we talk to our children now about all issues, because even the way we talk to them could elicit fear in them.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, if you really go deep enough and think about it, like you're talking to your child and you are passionate about what you're talking about, your child loves you. So they don't want to see you angry. They don't want to see you
Right.
hurt. So if you're talking to your child about harm, good touch, bad touch, but if you're talking about it and you're passionately angry or nobody better not ever, then that could bring upon a fear within that child to grow up not wanting something to happen to them and
And then
saying like, oh my goodness, my parent may harm me, or somebody may harm me if I did tell them what happened. And
right.
it becomes uncomfortable. And sometimes, you know, I've seen in practice, you know, people being afraid to talk about those things.
Right. Now, both of you guys have mentioned that you guys have your own practice. So if you had an opportunity for someone brand new coming in to, do therapy or considering doing therapy, what is something that you would say, or what is your mission? What is your mission statement, or what is something that you would say to bring a certain level of comfort to them and letting them know that this is a good, safe space, and what are the benefits that they would have in trusting in you as well as in trusting in the process of going through counseling or some type of therapy?
I would say just that, to start with that. I usually start with the fact that everything stays within these four walls. There's not anything that you can't disclose in this space. And it's my hope that at the end of the day, at the end of the session, or on your ride home, that you felt comfortable enough to feel like that's your safe haven. So it's time to, like, that way, that person is comfortable to hopefully unpack over time as we continue to build a relationship and build a rapport and things to continue.
Cool. Anything to add, Dev?
Yes. I think I just wanted to say, in terms of what Venice said earlier too, is that sometimes our greatest strengths, just being strong people as African Americans, being resilient, is our biggest weakness, because we don't talk about the things that need to get talked about, because we want to be resilient, we want to be tough, we want to just grind through and keep going, and not bring up anything, not snitching. Those type of cultural beliefs harm us the most. In terms of making my clients feel comfortable, in my private practice, I'm basically mobile. I come to you. So
Okay.
no matter where you live at, if you're in the inner city, if I gotta go catch you at school, I'm gonna be there. Right now I'm doing it through Zoom, but that's the one thing. I don't bring you into an office. I don't do all of that. I can, if that's what you like, but we'll meet out on your front porch in your neighborhood, at your kitchen table, wherever we can find space. And like you said, whatever happens here stays here. Unless you're talking about you're gonna hurt somebody or hurt yourself, then by law I have a duty to report those things. The other thing is that I'll disclose things that I went through, like the death of my sister. And Dame, it's funny how things work out. My sister died from meningitis, and that's what you said your daughter had, and that was crazy when you said it.
I saw you react.
Yeah, but healthy as a horse, just went through all this testing to go on this trip, and never had meningitis before. And like I said, a week later, she wasn't on this earth anymore. And I'll share those things to let people, just to qualify the room, to let you know I know what you're going through. It might not be the exact same thing, but I know about pain. I know about growing up in Baltimore. I know about the things that we got to deal with as men. I've been there, I've done that, and I think that helps people feel comfortable with me. I don't try to put on any airs about myself because I got a couple of degrees. That's just paper. I'm here to help, and I think hopefully that resonates with people, and I think that usually does, especially with my young men that I work with.
Let me ask you a quick question. So this is National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. Are you doing anything special because of that, or is it just really business as usual?
For me, you made me aware of that. That's what it was. I haven't been doing anything special. Usually it's a grind. I wake up, do my exercises in the morning, take care of myself, and then I'm on one call after the next now. So I'm just working. That's day in and day out. Take the weekend off to be with family and things like that. Monday morning, I'm back at the same grind again.
You got somebody that's from Baltimore too, giving you a shout out.
Yeah.
Ven is back in the building. So Ven, is National Mental Health Awareness Month. Did you do anything special? Did you know about it? Can you hear us?
I absolutely knew about it. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes, I prepare for Mental Health Awareness Month is in May, and Minority Mental Health Awareness Month is in
Minority.
July. So,
There you go.
try to get, yes, now it's Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. So, I just try to be proactive in my practice and with embracing your difference about this time, especially the Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, because I'm seeing a little bit of a difference in the stigma shifting and people becoming more comfortable with seeking out services. One of the things that I was intentional about this month is publishing my workbook. So I
Yes,
just
I saw
published
that.
my self workbook, and in that book, it allows the reader to spend some time with themselves to really dig deep into like patterns that they may have seen in their childhood, conversations that they may or may not have had with their parents. Trauma is a big part of the book. Financial stress can cause a lot of mental health issues, and
Stay
of
right
course,
there. Stay right there for a
relationship.
minute, then.
So, mhm.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that stress, it triggers me, right? Because in reading about mental health, who knew that there was positive stress, tolerable stress, toxic stress, all in which have a lot to do with why we walk around the way that we do. But I think oftentimes in our community, we say I'm stressed, right? And I think I really want to take some time to talk about this notion of being stressed, because sometimes I might even say it because it's power in words. So we know what that looks like when you say, yo, I'm just stressed out. But sometimes there's stress that is absolutely, for me, positive stress. Like I'm grinding, but I, I'm grateful to have a job, right? So that's good stress for me. Um, I'm still stressed out because I have deliverables and things of that nature. But I just think it's important for people to know that there's several different types of stress, but stress no less has a lot to do with why some folks are leaving the world early and not being able to really unpack it and talk about it and deal with it or compartmentalize it. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, brother, because the more you guys talk and the more I was thinking about just getting prepared for the show, I've come to realize in my own life that I've compartmentalized certain things. I might just have a general conversation with somebody and somebody will say, you know what, just a week ago, yo, you was traumatized. I didn't think anything about it. Like, so you Dev mentioned that, here inner city guy from, Baltimore. I'm an inner city guy from Philadelphia. I was born and raised in South Philly. I have family in North Philly, Strawberry Mansion area, all through North Philly, Germantown, whatever. Any inner city area, you ain't gonna get me lost, right? So I know, and I think I might have been about 10 or 11 years old, just out with my friends walking up a small block, and we heard gunshots, but they sound extremely, extremely close. So when we heard those, and because they were so close, we just dropped, and everybody took cover. I dropped and rolled up underneath of a car. We waited for like 10 minutes and then we came out. When we came out, we walked up somebody that was like less than a half a block away from us, but just on the next street, was laying there, shot, injured, hurt. We over there trying to figure out what's going on with him. No sign of whoever did anything to this man. A young lady came out. It was a woman that came out, and she was in the medical field, might have been a nurse or something. She's like, "Y'all okay? Y'all good?" Be like, "We're fine. We just heard this, and this guy's laying here." She's like, "All right, you guys go away," and she just shoot us away. All right, cool. We go about our business. Ain't thinking about nothing. We gonna play. Maybe a day later, we come back and we walking through that same block, and we ask the young lady. We said, "Hey, Miss Such and Such, whatever happened to that guy? Whatever happened to that guy that got shot yesterday? How did he make out?" She like, "Baby, he ain't make it." We was like, "Oh, all right, that's messed up. All right, see you later. Have a good day." And then we just went and played. Now, the crazy part about that is that those things happen so frequently. It just so happened that we looked at it as it being a coincidence that we was nearby. We didn't think anybody, oh my God, somebody got killed, somebody got shot. Like, we grew up in, like, only thing that was happening different in that time frame was that somebody got shot. But and where I grew up at, it was nothing for you to live a block radius or a 2-block radius from somebody and there's some type of beef, gang war, and all that. And that's happening to this day. You can't turn on the TV and not see somebody in the same neighborhood within a 2-3 block radius being killed for whatever the reason. There's nothing that should have takes away somebody's life, but you just deal with it. And to this day, more of these kids, because they don't value life, a lot of these kids are accustomed to seeing people get killed, dropping right in front of their eyes, unless it hits different when there is their family member or with somebody that's close to them or their great friend or their best friend, you know. So when it comes to the different stresses that you were speaking about, Kev, yes, there's some toxic stress out there. There's some tolerable stress out there. You know, there's a lot of anxiety, I think, more than anything, because people can't function, can't sleep, can't make a decision. And that can become extremely stressful to the point that people can become stroke themselves out. And just have a certain fear about them that is not their reality. And then need, you know, additional supports and helps and things of that sort. And that's a lot of things that is going on now. So I don't know if there's a complete cure for it, but how do we put a better effort into changing that paradigm? I'm glad that it's happening, but how do we force it a little bit more, that we get more people to come out there and get some type of therapy and talk about the different things that's been taken on in their life?
I think just what we're doing right now, just talking about it in this form and being vulnerable right now was a great first step. I think we need to have more of these types of dialogues in our community to let people know that it's okay to go to therapy. We talked about earlier about making people feel comfortable about therapy. One thing that I do is I'll bring in lyrics, hip hop lyrics. I know a lot of my young people are you know, passionate about hip hop. So you know, I'll give them the artists I like. I'll tell them to, you know, bring the artists they like. But look, we're gonna talk about what the lyrics mean to you.
Yeah, I love that.
A lot of times they don't feel comfortable talking about themselves, but they'll gravitate to a certain artist. And then what we'll do in session is we'll talk about what those lyrics mean. What do they mean? So without them even knowing, we've entered into therapy. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to find ways as an African American practitioner to you know, deliver therapy not in such a traditional way. You know, we don't our issues don't manifest the same as other cultures, so we have to be culturally competent in our practice.
So I think that's an interesting point, particularly when you know, of course I do the brothers brunch, so I'm always around brothers who don't mind having these type of conversations, right? And so oftentimes what comes out is trying to find that practitioner that looks like you, right? Particularly because some of the things that I go through as an African American man, I need for someone to lean in with a certain perspective, with a certain amount of background knowledge, or at least have some touch to the culture, right? To understand what I'm going through. And so as a man, and I'm speaking in general, you know, I'm apprehensive about that. So can we talk briefly about, you know, do we have any numbers, or do you know the research, or can you guesstimate how many of us, like how do we make up a certain percentage? Because I'm curious as to why it's so hard to find an African American practitioner, you know, and I'm the guy that picked up the phone and actually asked, and they don't even really tell you. I don't think that they can say that the person's black or white. It's really challenging.
Well, do you mind if I add to that?
Go for it.
I feel like a lot of it is because of a lack of mentorship, and there is a lot of people who work in the mental health field who call themselves counselors, and they work in group homes, and they work in a lot of different places, but they haven't had the guidance or someone to really walk them through the necessary steps that they would need to take to be a therapist if that's what they want to do. And then also, I think there's a lot of people who assume because they don't know. So there is a website called Therapy for Black Men.
Really?
That's good.
Website. There's a website named Therapy for Black Girls. There's a website. Yes. So that's what I mean, as far as like people asking the questions, because there's now, I'm saying now, because we know 10, 20 years ago, it was like, we're not even talking about that. We're not going there. But now there's just a lot of different
www.therapy for black men?
for Black men. And then there's another one, www.therapy for Black girls, right? And what's interesting and sad, because I live in Connecticut, and growing up in the Bronx, I've seen a lot of trauma. So I grew up with a mom who was depressed for many years, and going in and out of social service buildings myself, and seeing a service that wasn't really service. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come into this profession, because I felt like I was a social worker at 10, So, at the end of the day, there are a plethora of resources, and now the conversation is continuing. So, my husband is a therapist, and when we were looking on therapy for Black men in Connecticut to put him on the website, there was maybe 4 in the whole state.
Wow.
So the more we talk about this and tell the other therapists out there, in other states like Atlanta, of course, it's like hundreds. So, you got to just look around. And the good thing is that now that we have telehealth, you could go on therapy for Black men and maybe, find somebody wherever you want based on their, experience and the modalities that they're using. And, if they focus on relationship concerns, anxiety and depression, or just trauma, so the resources are becoming more and more out there. And I'm really glad to see that.
I'm curious.
Still have a long way to go.
Can I ask you a quick question? Yeah, thank you for sharing it for sure. Do you find that you have more female or male folks that come see you?
I have more female. 90% of my clients are African American women, and then of course I see a number of couples. Now that my husband has joined the practice, more and more men are calling.
Okay, so Dev, what's your take on it? Do you see more, I guess, even if it's young people, is it more males or females?
I see more men from the ages of 7 and 8 all the way up until 40 and 50 years old. And that's always been the case. And I think more so because of the lack of, and I'm not sure about, other fields, but in social work, the numbers are not good in terms of African-American men in the profession. I can remember when me and Vin were in school together, it was probably 5 of us in our graduating class, and Brandon being one of the others. When we had they brought like companies up, trying to recruit us for jobs and things like that. I remember everybody else was going out in the hallway to see the booths and everything, and me and Brandon, we couldn't even leave the room because everyone was coming over to us. So I'm saying that to say, it's a great need.
There's opportunity.
It's just like in the STEM field or the education field. It needs
teachers.
It needs to be asserted recruitment of African American men in social work.
Okay, well let's unpack that a little bit, because when you look at the fields, right? You're mentioning some fields that it almost takes you to be somewhat vulnerable or a certain type of individual to walk into these fields. What do you think it is? Like, why do you think Black men are either apprehensive or just not thinking twice about these fields? And does it have anything to do with unattended to issues that they themselves are going through?
I don't think so, because I'll see a lot of African American men who aren't technically social workers, but they work in the field in some capacity, whether that's as some type of counselor or PRP worker. And they'll have a degree in something else, but they work, a lot of hours doing, part-time work or even sometimes full work in the helping profession. I just think that, it's one, I think people don't think that it's a profitable field. I think it's very profitable. You're not going to get, the big mansions and all of that type of thing, but you can live a really good life as a clinician. And I'm not just I don't want to just push for the clinical aspect of social work. It's other avenues in social work, because social workers are everywhere. Anywhere you look, you'll see people who have social work degrees, even, advocating for different policies and things of that nature, and writing and teaching. So, but it's definitely a big need for more African American clinicians, particularly African American male clinicians.
Do you think that now, just from being, like I said, I'm not to the level that you guys are at, but working in the social service field, you hit it right on the nose, man. Like, I think I don't see as many, brothers in this field because of the simple fact that it's not as lucrative. I think it takes a special individual to be able to deal with these. When you're dealing with people, you got to be a special type of person, be able to deal with people with the diversity and how colorful individuals and their problems can be.
Absolutely.
There are other fields out there where you could probably make a lot of money or what have you, when you're not necessarily, belly to belly with a lot of situations. But it seems to me it's all a hustle, and you position yourself to do better if you actually have your own practice or you have your own business, as opposed to working for some of the organizations that's out there. That's what I've actually found myself just by being in this particular field. But I think even more so, I think you have to have people that have a real, when I say special, they have to really be special, because you got a lot of people that slip through the cracks and just be hustling, and they just worried about numbers.
Oh, but yeah. So I was gun ho. I wasn't gonna sit in front of anybody and tell them all my business. He had to be a brother, and the brother that I did sit in front of was just like, I left like, wait a minute, what just happened? That wasn't. Yeah, I'm not a therapist, but I know when it's just not it.
Not genuine.
And I'm sure everybody's good intention, but it is a field that you have to be careful, because it's almost a requirement for you to do your work and for you to talk and unpack. It is not that I live with a therapist, so I'm telling you some of the things that I know, right? And so their job is to get you to start to just talk and be able to be okay. It's therapeutic just to talk about it, and most times we're not doing that. And so you have to be careful, because you can have 3 sessions where the therapist says 4 words and you're like, whew, that was good. You know what I mean? Because you just don't have nobody to talk to, right? And so for me, I know at this stage in my life, I needed a little more. And I actually, one of the things that saved my marriage was having a Black woman therapist. Amazing. Like and the thing was, I went and guarded. I was like, yo, she's going to be on her side. So I don't even know what the point is. I don't even know why I'm here. She disarmed me within 5 minutes by saying little subtle words like, I actually understand where you're coming from. Somebody who gets me. Like, she gets me. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take much. And I think, oftentimes we're apprehensive about therapy in general, but you can't fix what you're not willing to face. And yes, we all have our things with us. Like, we don't necessarily. Vin, you were a therapist in college. Let's be clear. Like, you probably know all of our business, right? And so you were absolutely walking in your calling. And so God called you to be in this seat because you absolutely have always had that spirit. And I don't know anybody who's known you that didn't know that. I want to say, didn't you write your first book in college?
I did. Yes.
So sit down somewhere on your own couch, right? But look, this work is very, really important. And when we're coming in contact, me and Dame, with a lot of brothers, man, by way of the frat or in church or what have you, and we know how important this is. We know how important it is to deal with your own mental health, but sometimes it's convoluted, right? It's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise in a brother's atmosphere, and it's just overwhelming and it's stressful. Trying to pay the bills, just trying to be everything to everybody. And I don't really have time for sitting down and spending an hour with somebody that doesn't know me.
Right.
And then also challenging you, not just even validating
you get homework.
But as we people, a lot of times, when somebody asks you how you feel or if it's something going on with you, when you ask, okay, so tell me about that, or what's going on, people, or how do you feel? We have been stuck on a story. We want to sit and tell the story.
Blessed and highly favored.
Let's be able to, and going back to what Dev said a few moments ago, is language. Let's identify truly how you feel so we can unpack that. And when was the last time you felt that? And where did that come from?
The other thing too, I just want to add is I was taught by a great mentor of mine, Dr. Brian Miller, who said to me that unresolved issues have babies. And when he
That's
told me
good.
that, I'm like, what are you talking about? Unresolved issues have babies. And what I realized is that, if we don't deal with it now, it'll manifest itself later on a little differently, but it's the same issue. So, although, we say we don't have time to deal with it, if we don't, it's coming back, and it's going to come back with brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. All right. So listen, the time is 7:38, right? And we want to ask you a few questions, but we also realize that time is of the essence, and we don't have a lot of time. So if at all possible, we might be asking you all to come back, possibly when Ben and I can have better Wi-Fi. And like, I hate it. Ben, you said something. You said what you don't heal in your singleness will come back as disease in your togetherness.
Yes.
That's pretty powerful.
And that is hence why it's important to do the work, the individual work, and to be able to be still in this chaotic world at times, to really zone in on yourself, which is when you mentioned a few moments ago, the stress and the going and the going and the going. Sometimes it's good stress because it causes us to work through things and be resilient. But then where's that other stress coming from? Because of the pressure of the world. And we kind of follow that, and we create that. So being able to pay attention to the things that you've gone through so that you can work through it. And truth be told, you can work through it in your 20s, you can work through it in your 30s or 40s. But if it's not worked through, it's like Deveron said, it's gonna create a lot more issues with the people you're with and with your children. And we're trying to break those patterns so that our children can be able to talk about their childhood in a different way than we did.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Quick question for both of you guys. Doing this type of work, what has this taught you about yourselves? Both of you can answer that question.
A lot. I honestly, I'm going to speak from a therapist and a spiritual life coach perspective. And I know that for me, this was a part of me before I even came into this world. There was a lot of things and patterns that needed to be broken before I even came into existence. And it's a part of my soul's plan. And that's just how I look at it. So it's taught me, that I've been born to break some serious patterns, some that I didn't even know about, and then some that I may have wanted to run away from, but I'm glad that I'm here and I'm breaking them so that my children won't have to, go through those things. And one of those biggest things is like being married and staying married, but being healthy within yourself. And I did not see that wrong.
And you're married to a therapist. So when one of you asks the other, how does that make you feel? Do you get your feelings? I'm just asking. No?
My husband just now started to embrace that this is a part of his calling too. So he used to say that to me, like, "Stop, don't therapy me right now. I don't want to hear right now."
I say it to my wife all the time.
Now I'm seeing him throw little things out now, and I'm like, really? So it's kind of funny in our home.
So listen, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jane.
I'm about to say, what does Dev have?
I'm sorry, Dev.
Doing this work has taught me that I'm still not there. So I'm a work in progress. Before I see anybody, I'm a spiritual guy, so I talk to my creator and my higher power and say, let me be a conduit. Free me up from anything that's blocking me, so that you can do the work. When I do this work, I really think it's a ministry that I've been called to do. And I don't want anything in my personal life or in my feelings or anything that I'm dealing with block me from being used to help somebody else. So But in order to do that, that means that I got to, tackle my own issues before I go in trying to, because I don't want to leave anybody worse off than when, they met me, So it means that I have to do a lot of soul searching and personal work within myself and, get with great mentors or therapists on a consistent basis to deal with my own self, especially, given my childhood experience and coming up, some of those things resurface sometimes. As much schooling as I have, as much faith as I have, I'm still a man. So I have to deal with those things before I can, try to help anybody else. So what it's taught me is that, it's still work to do.
Good.
Well, folks, listen, we've had quite an evening through technical difficulties to laughs to some really deep conversations. I really appreciate the two of you. I appreciate the work that you do. It is not easy work. It's work that you have to do within yourself in order to really help someone else. They always tell you if a plane's going down that you have to put on your own oxygen mask before you're able to help somebody else. So I'm sure there's a lot of that work being done in your households. Oftentimes I ask you, who's strong for the strong? Because I feel like people look to you for advice and for you to fix their lives. But oftentimes, I should only hope that you all have that one person that's strong for you. And then most times it's your spouse, but in certain situations, it's not. And so everybody needs somebody that's strong for them. And so it's just really something that I wanted to throw out there. The last question I have for you, and we have a comment, prayer is a must before seeing others. You want to make sure that you are transferring and also that they don't transfer anything to you. It is great work and shouldn't be taken lightly.
Absolutely.
Spoken by a true G. That's my wife. Let's go.
Okay.
Pretty dope.
She is dope, man. I get on her last nerve. And you want to talk about somebody that comes to a relationship with all types of bags and mess. And my wife, being a therapist is like, I can't fix that. You gotta go talk to somebody. But yeah, we're doing some good work. We're headed to 16 years, so I appreciate it. What questions do you all have for us? We have approximately 3 minutes before we hit our target, which I'm proud of. So, questions for us, the two of you.
Okay, so this is broad, but I love what you are doing. So what made you continue with like taking it to interviewing others and the food for thought? Where did that come from? I know you probably talked about it plenty of times, but I'm curious.
No, I'll try to be brief. Food for thought obviously is a play on words. It's something, a phrase that's just been everybody and their mother uses. But the brothers brunch is not just about brothers brunching. And so for years, I've been trying to articulate that. But if I don't have the opportunity to always sit down and tell somebody, hey, we're so much, I just press send on a major grant, like to do some craziness for in terms of entrepreneurship out in Haiti, right? We're doing like some major work. Like it's not just sitting down and having fancy brunches. It's about an expansion of one's palate, right? And not just from a culinary standpoint, but a life experience standpoint, really exposing men to things that some of us may not ever be exposed to because, we're men and, we know what we're doing and we do it this way. And all we talk about is women in sports. That's the narrative, right? But there's so many layers to a man. And sometimes it takes that courageous space to be able to truly like talk about all the things that all the provocative things that plague our communities. And so the food for thought is just something that came to my mind. I'm like, yo, I know so many dope people. Like when I look around, I know so many dope people. And guess what? I want the world to know who they are, right? I don't have a huge following. There aren't 1 million people following this yet, right? But I know people that are just like amazing souls. They're amazing souls. And for me, what's fun, once I got the approval, like, all right, babe, so I got a lot on my plate. What night can I just go ahead and rock out and do my creative thing? She like Friday night. I'm like, yo, let's go. This is my time, right? So anytime I have to bring folks on, I can. And sometimes the work becomes cumbersome. And sometimes I'm wise enough to know that the work is a lot for me. So I bring brothers like Dame to be like, yo, co-host with me for 3 segments. Like, I don't want to lock you in, but like, rock out with me so that I can have another voice. So simply put, it's really just to share other stories.
Wow.
Right. Man, he pretty much said
I love it.
Any other questions for us before we
just in terms of being Black men, I think it's important to share any coping strategies that you might employ. I think that's good. So brothers who are tuning in can hear, some strategies from you all that they might can incorporate in their own lives.
One of the things that I do every single day, the first thing that I do when I wake up, I'm automatically doing my personal development. So I'm praying, I'm thanking God for life. I got a little Bible app that I go through every morning, and
I get all the notifications
every morning. I'm sending it out, and then I just started on my day. So I try to live by example. If that's to the best I can. That's all I pretty much try to do. And I know a lot of times, a lot of people, although I'm not a licensed therapist or anything like that, but people do for years always ask me my opinion or advice about certain things, and I give it. But I got to make sure that I'm in the right space to be able to even do that. So everything I do is just pretty much governed by the man above, man.
Good to hear.
That's my man. So really quickly, I'll say one thing I had to stop and recognize that happiness is a fleeting emotion, and that I have to understand that it could start thunderstorming outside, and that could very well change. Like, I'm trying not to always focus on being happy per se, but really being content in the different spaces that I'm in and being able to navigate through those things. And that is easier said than done. And also really seeking first to understand and then to be understood. Again, been married for close to 16 years. And sometimes I really just feel like I can't get it right. I'm like, yo, I'm a dope dad, but I suck as a husband. Like, I'm trying, but like, I can't, I don't know what's going on here. But really being intentional about being relational and really saying, okay, well, all right, well, it's been 15 years. Maybe I should stop doing it the same way that I've been doing it and try to do something different. And so I'm really leaning into to really understand. And that takes work. And it takes patience on, the part of your spouse. So really just being committed to that. And when I say committed, I mean, there was a time where I would get frustrated and be like, yo, I'm out and I'm gonna go to Hooters and grab some wings or go to Applebee's and just like take a breather. And now I'm learning to sit in it, right? Because there's power and presence. And I think at the end of the day, the optics and the triggers and all the other ish that comes along with you leaving physically it's not worth it, and it takes years to repair. So that's all I knew. Like, my narrative, my mom, unfortunately, she was married for 3 times. It didn't work out. She got a divorce. I grew up like, yo, if it don't work out, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? We just go on with our lives. That was my script. My wife didn't have that script. Her dad and mom, until her mom left this earth, they were together, and it was through hell and whatever, they were together. And so she saw working it out. And so when you get into a marriage and you realize that, okay, me leaving, I mean, that's not going to fix anything. If anything, it's going to, widen the gap. So I've learned that. So coping with just my own anger and my own stuff and sitting in it, and so that I could be present and understand like what's going on and be able to really just sit in it. I think there's power in presence. So Absolutely. Good question.
Absolutely.
Listen, we're so grateful. We knew coming in that we were only going to scratch the surface with the 2 of you. So whether we do a one-off for one of you or we bring both of you back on, either way, we know that the conversation has to continue. We're so grateful. Any closing thoughts, Vin? And then we'll go to Dev.
Well, I would say, go to embrace your difference. If you want to start, to scratch the surface and, ask yourself some questions that whether they're uncomfortable or not, could really start you on the road to healing. And grab my self-love and self-healing workbook.
Where can
And
they find it?
they can go to embraceyourdifference.com and I'll sign it.
Oh, that's what
And
you were doing.
really, yeah, that's what I was doing the other day. But really, it's just about, being still to hone into exactly what you said, Kev. It's power and presence. So know that you can find a therapist who could relate to you and remove the fear and go do it.
Dope. Thank you so much.
Does
I wish I had a book and all of that to promote, but I don't. But I do. I will be remiss and get in trouble with my son if I didn't say he's starting a clothing line, Rich Empire.
Nice. Where can we find it?
You can follow him on his IG at Rich with the E .empire.
Now, is this your son that goes to Lincoln?
Yes, sir.
Nice. What grade is he? I mean, what year?
He's in his junior year.
What grade is he? He's in 11th grade. Junior year. Nice. Dane, we gotta get him.
Yes, we gotta get him.
We gotta get him.
It's been a fun, pleasing pleasure, as well as a privilege to have you guys on here today. You guys are awesome. You unpacked a lot of stuff and you shared some things with us. And if I didn't get anything else out of this, I know I definitely got to be more intentional about getting therapy myself to work on some things that I need to go through or just deal with. And the fact that you can put up, what's that, black therapy for black men and therapy for black women, that was awesome. It's so simple, I can't believe we didn't even know about it. So I thank you so much for giving us that information tonight.
For sure. Listen, I'm gonna put you all in the green room. Just want to say my proper goodbye. So just hold tight for us. Dave and I are gonna say a few words, and then we're gonna be out. But I appreciate you both of you. We'll see you soon.
See y'all soon.
Yo, bro. So I always start a show without having technical difficulties with a flashback, man. Just because I think it's important that you remember how long we've known each other.
It's been a minute, man. Look, I got hair on this job.
Yo, you got hair, bro. Yo, so I remember this because this was the all-white. This is the all-white party. I want to say it had to be like the
African American museum.
Yeah, man, you had hair, so I just wanted to give you a throwback. Yeah. Yo, thank you for hanging out with us. It's been a pleasure. We're gonna sign off.
You there, bro? Can't hear you. Go ahead, speak. Good brother, can you hear me?